everyone, Lisa from Down to Earth Gardening here, and today we're talking about how to create a privacy screen or privacy hedge. And I'm down here on our property by the water in front of my beautiful hedge. So I want to talk today about how to select, or how I selected my shrub or my tree for my hedge. And then two, I want to talk about what in particular I planted and a little bit about this beautiful evergreen. And then lastly, I want to talk about how we planted it, good planting practices, and aftercare. So I really enjoy a beautiful, lush evergreen privacy hedge. And I mean, we all know that sometimes we're looking for something to give us a little privacy from our neighbors, or to just mark out our boundaries, or even as a sound barrier. So, a lot of times we'll be thinking fencing, very expensive, but why not plant some gorgeous evergreens that are going to provide a living green fence, and it's beautiful year round, and it also attracts a lot of birds. There's a lot of bird action down here, so they love this for nesting. So hopefully we'll get to see a little bit while we're down here today. So things that I considered when I was planning my hedge here is, first you want to think about your site. So I needed something that was pretty low maintenance because this is really far away from the house. I tend to focus mainly on my gardens, especially the ones that are close to the house. You've seen a lot of videos of those. So it needed to be something that I didn't have to water, prune. So essentially I was looking for something native. And you want to think about your sun orientation. So this gets a lot of really good sun down here. The sun comes up over here to the left of me, and then down behind the house here. So this gets a lot of great south facing sun. And of course, you want to think about your zone. I'm in zone 6B here in Northeast Connecticut, so I want to plan something hardy for my zone for the most success. And lastly, you want to think about your soil conditions. So my soil conditions down here were pretty good. Of course, we live in New England, so it's very rocky. So we're going to talk at the end of the video a little bit about how we prepped it here. But soil testing is always a great thing to do before you plant, because you want to know your starting point of your pH and fertility. So down here, soil was pretty great, well draining. So those are some of the things that I thought of about the site when selecting my hedge. So next, I wanted something that was tall and bushy with a lot of texture and evergreen. And then I also wanted something that was deer resistant. Now that's a tough one, because when the deer are hungry, you all know they will eat anything. But last but not least, this is a pretty good run here. It's a good long stretch, so I needed something that was easy on the budget. And the trick to that is you want to get something that's fast growing. So that will really allow you to buy something smaller, which will be less pricey or a little more budget friendly. So that brings me to what I selected here today, and this is Arborvitae nigra. Beautiful, highly textured tree here that I want to talk a little bit more about today and just give you a really good look at it. Okay, so Arborvitae nigra is considered a native tree, also called northern white cedar. It gets to about 20 to 30 feet tall. So make sure you have room for this here. And then it gets about 5 to 10 feet wide on average. And those are mature height and width. So those are really important tree facts about this arborvitae, and we're going to talk more about this at the end of the video when we talk about planting them. So beautiful fan evergreen foliage here. And it is winter right now, so you'll see that it takes on more of a rust gold tone. But spring and summer, it's a beautiful deep green. So as far as maintenance, it's such low maintenance. I really don't do anything to it. However, it makes a really pretty green for our wreaths and containers and window boxes. So you can see where I've selectively pruned it. And I really love the natural look. So no shearing is required, which is also very important for me in this space down here, because like I said, not a lot of time for this area. So these arborvitaes do best in full sun to part shade. If it has a little more shade, it'll be a little more sparse, but for the most part, if it's in the right conditions, it'll be pretty bushy, which I love here. And it has a nice pyramid shape. They do need well-drained and neutral to alkaline pH for soil. And sometimes you'll see some little cones on it, and they're not very showy, so it's not really a feature that's talked about a lot. But it is an excellent screening tree, and one of my favorite things about these trees is the growth rate is about 1 to 2 feet per year in the right conditions. So that's pretty great when you're thinking about your investment. Now, these were planted about 4.5 years ago. And I originally purchased 7/8 footers. And so they were B&Bs, which means they were balled and burlapped. But look at the growth they put on. So Josh and I were just trying to measure the height here, and currently they're at about 18 feet tall. So that is a little bit more than about 2 feet, around 2 feet on average a year. That's pretty great. We've had last year a terrible drought, and then the following year we had lots of rain, and they still are coming in at that really great growth rate. So pretty good for an investment. Okay, so last but not least, I want to talk about planting practices and how we got these beauties going here. So planting time, we planted these in the spring, and like I said, it was about 4.5 years ago. It was a great time to plant because spring is typically a rainier time of year for us, so that helped me a lot because I didn't have to water them to get them going. And we did have to do some amending, so we had to remove quite a few rocks, which we made use of in another area behind us here. You can see some of the rocks we took out here. And then we brought in some really nice topsoil and compost. So we had to essentially dig a trench here to plant them. And we did build the soil up a little bit because we are by the water. It's on a slope here, and we're by the wetlands. So these cannot be sitting in water. If you'll remember when I talked a little bit about them, they need well-draining soil. And then the first year we planted, we put a little mulch on top. I haven't had time to mulch them since, but they are doing fabulous. So maybe a little bit of mulch just to get them going to help you with some good water retention there. So a really important factor when you're planting a privacy hedge or screen is to plant them the proper distance away from each other. So the calculation here, this run here is about 50 feet, and I wanted a nice thick hedge, is to think about the mature width of your shrub. So remember I said this one here gets to be about 5 to 10 feet wide. And because I wanted it thick, I planted them 5 feet apart. So I probably could have gone a little further apart, but I really wanted to make sure that I essentially had a living green wall here, and that's what I got. So make sure you do your calculations when you plant, but for this hedge, it was 5 feet apart, and that's basically trunk to trunk. So that's it for planting. And as far as care, I did say they're pretty low maintenance, and that is the truth. There's such little care. The most important thing about this hedge is really getting it established. So if you are planting it at a time when you're not getting a lot of water, make sure you water them, and you water them deeply so the roots really get established, because once that happens, that's it. You just enjoy it. So that's it for today. I really love these arborvitaes. I think we really achieved what we were looking for, and I hope this video helped you all at home today. If you liked it, please go ahead and tap like and subscribe to our channel, and hopefully I will see you again next time.